Hey everyone, it's Kirsten here for another Thursday Spa Business Break where I'm talking about you and your spa business and your leadership and all that goes in between there. So as it says in the description here today in my Facebook Live, I want to talk about decision fatigue because, it's one of those aspects of entrepreneurship in the spa industry that we see all the time. We see this in Facebook groups. We see this when we're having discussions with esthetician friends, just how exhausted they're feeling. This isn't an issue just for spa owners, but of course, that's who I'm talking to today. And maybe you haven't even thought about the concept of decision fatigue. There's science behind it. There was a study done with judges and they were studying their ability to make decisions. And what they noticed is that at the beginning of their day, I think it was like 65% of their decisions were positive decisions. And as the day moved on, those decisions got less and less positive. So there was, it was judges in front of, I believe they were prison inmates that were looking for either release or changes to their parole, that kind of thing. And so it was really fascinating, to read the science behind decision fatigue, that as the day went on, the decisions to say yes got less and less. So, it's not, you may be feeling exhausted, tired, having a difficult time making decisions. And you may think this is just you, there's something wrong with you, that there's something wrong with your willpower, that there's something wrong with you as an entrepreneur. No, that is not the problem. The issue is that you've got a lot of decisions to make as an entrepreneur, but it doesn't end there. You also have a lot of decisions to make at home. Primarily the spa industry is there's mostly women in it. And so when we go home, there's a huge amount of mental load that we take responsibility for, which adds to the decision fatigue. So no wonder when you're finished the end of your day working, and maybe you're putting time aside to work on your admin or your initiatives or your growth projects, and you're just like, I don't feel like it. I can't even think anyways. It's because you have decision fatigue. So, when we understand decision fatigue and how it affects us, we can start making just different habits and doing things just a little bit differently to make it easier for us. So this week in Spa Business Mastery, that's a free Facebook group I have for spa owners. So if you are not in that group and you would like to be, you can definitely do a quick search for Spa Business Mastery and put your request in there. There's 2 questions that you have to answer before you'll be let in the group. But this week I asked a question, and the question was, are you an early bird or a night owl? And I had a follow-up question, and that was, now, like whether you are an early bird or a night owl, do you use your natural rhythm as a way to, get your work done? And it was really interesting. Lots and lots of people are night owls, which makes it kind of hard sometimes to get your admin work when your brightest thinking time is at night. A lot of times with you guys, you've got kids, and so it's when you've done the laundry, it's when you've done, time with your children, and you put them to bed, and then you have some quiet time. So it doesn't really matter when your best time of day is, but it's important to recognize when your mind is most alert and then work with that rhythm. If you're a night owl, there's no use waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning or 5 in the morning to start working on admin because it's something you should be doing. Nobody wants to be should on, right? So if you are an night owl, then it's a matter of kind of adjusting your schedule to work with the rhythm of your natural alertness so that you can maximize and optimize when you're thinking the best. If you've been following me, you've heard me talking about the thinking brain versus your reactive brain. This is all tied up into decision fatigue. When you're fatigued making so many decisions, day after day, hour after hour, and then going home and having to make more decisions, you're just not going to show up at your best when you want to be showing up at your best. Okay, so what does it look like when you're under decision fatigue? Well, most often you're probably going to recognize this when you go to sit down at the time blocking that you may have done for your admin time, and you may get to that time and go, I just don't feel like it. I'm too tired. I just can't get my head in it. And so that's usually the biggest place where spa owners notice their decision fatigue, but they misinterpret it as lack of willpower. It's not really what's going on. Another way that this shows up is reacting to clients, reacting to staff, reacting to family members, reacting to friends, and maybe not reacting in the best way, most protective way. When we're in that decision fatigue place, we're in our reactive brain rather than our thinking brain. And then the last place where I think you can probably recognize decision fatigue is just generally feeling exhausted and not feeling super sussed about working on your business. Pushing through decision fatigue only can work for so long. And then it's really not a matter of willpower because you just got nothing left. So I want to give you six ideas, 6 methods, 6 action steps that you can take, all 6 of them if you want, or you can just cherry pick the ones that fit right for you. But the intention is to give you some tools to help manage the decision fatigue if you are in that place. So the first point I want to make is about knowing when your freshest time is to think. So maybe you haven't even thought about that. I challenge you to think about it. Pay attention to your rhythm in the day. When are you feeling most energized? When are you feeling like your brain is sparking off with ideas? It may be in the middle of the day. It may not be a morning thing or a night thing, okay? But paying attention to when you're most naturally alert, when ideas come to you the easiest, pay attention to when that time period is. And then use that time optimally. So if it's middle of the day, yeah, I get that you probably have clients, but you could have a block in the middle of the day, a 2-hour block. Maybe you have the first half hour is your lunch, gives you a little bit of time to kind of regroup, get your mind reset, and then working on your projects, whatever you need to be working on at the time, and then go back to clients. It's not the ideal way. I find it's really hard sometimes to shift gears. That's why you want to have a little bit of buffer on either end of that. But if that is when you are most fresh with your thinking, then work with it. Okay, number 2, do the most important tasks or the hardest tasks first when you've blocked off time for your admin or your initiatives. Brian Tracy wrote a really great book called Eat That Frog, and I meant to grab my little frog, but I actually have a frog about this big. I've spray painted in blue. He's in the lotus position. He's a little meditating frog, but he sits by my front door because when I walk into my office every day, he's the first thing I see, that blue frog sitting right there, and it reminds me to eat my frogs. Now, what does that mean, eat my frog? Well, in Brian Tracy's book, it essentially means the frog is representing the yucky stuff, the hard stuff we don't want to do. But by eating the frog first before we get to the other tasks means that those harder tasks get done, because it's usually those tasks that we feel some resistance from. Those are the tasks that are most important. So I've adopted that protocol in my day is I eat my frogs first. I do the hard work first. My time is in the morning. So I make sure that I block time off in the morning to work on critical thinking stuff or creative stuff. I know that by 3 or 4 o'clock, I am not at my freshest, and I typically don't book coaching clients for that time anyways. So I'm optimizing the time of my thinking time. Number 3 on how to banish decision fatigue is to reevaluate your values. So yesterday, Maxine Drake and I were on a Facebook Live training on her business page, and we both shared it to our Facebook groups. So if you want to take a look at that, it was talking about our top 3 leadership strengths. And in that conversation, one of the strengths was being crystal clear on your professional values and your personal values, because your professional values come from your personal values. So if we're really not clear about what we value in our business, so for me, I value connection, I value curiosity, I value compassion, I value organization. And so when if I'm feeling fatigue, decision fatigue, I will go back into my values. I actually have them up on my whiteboard. So I see my business values every single day. So if I'm feeling fatigued as far as decision fatigue, and I need to make a decision, maybe it's a decision about a client to take on. Maybe it's a decision about a new webinar I want to do, or a new type of offer I want to do. If I'm feeling like I can't land on something, I revisit my values just to double check, like, am I on track with my values or not? Because sometimes I get the shiny penny syndrome too. I see what other people are doing. I think, oh my gosh, that would be a great idea. And then I start getting into it and I just feel this tightness, this constriction happening. And that is one of my red flags, is when I feel that tightness, that's a red flag for me to revisit my values and check in with what I'm trying to do. Does it actually work with my business values? If it doesn't, it gets kicked to the curb ASAP. It doesn't always help you make clear decisions, but it's one of those pieces that, as far as buying new equipment, bringing on a new skincare line or a product line, doing a new hire, all of those big decisions you need to check in with your values. Do they fit with your values? Sometimes it's an easy, that doesn't fit, and you can move on to the next decision, right? You don't have to spend that time getting muddled up, wrapped up, spinning, thinking brain that's not going anywhere. Okay, my number 4 point to help with decision fatigue: nourish your body and your brain. Oh my gosh, you guys are kind of like working in the restaurant industry. I'm sure some of you have, but if you remember being in the restaurant industry, like, you don't have time to eat. You eat on the fly, you shove food down your throat. It's the same thing that happens in the spa industry. Yeah, we have half an hour for lunch, but do you actually take a half an hour and sit and eat your lunch? No. So if you can't take a half an hour to sit and eat your lunch and have some peace and quiet to try to calm your brain down, not scrolling on social, you really need to nourish your body with some healthy food and water. If we're malnourished and we're dehydrated, your brain can't think properly. So let's just deal with the physical stuff. That's the easy stuff. And if you know that you're having to go into a situation where you need to make decisions, make sure you fuel up, not on sugary crap, but on stuff that actually nourishes your body. It will help you think better. All right, number 5 to help with decision fatigue is get help. The longer I'm an entrepreneur, the longer I work with clients, and especially I primarily work with women. We can't do this all on our own. We think we should. We think we should be able to handle it on our own. Work, and it's not just work. It's entrepreneurship. It's not like you can just show up for work and go home. You have to do a lot of thinking when you're at work. You got to make a lot of decisions. You got to interact with a lot of people. When we're interacting with people, that can be really draining. So there's a lot of stuff in our lives that is really draining. That absolutely affects our decision fatigue. I had a client actually post last night in our group coaching. She's given me permission to share this story because she posted in the Spa Business Labs last night. I think she posted at like 12:30 at night, and she had been working all day. Then she went home and I think she had dinner. I think she did laundry. She said, I think it was like a crap ton of laundry that she had to fold. She went to visit her grandfather in the hospital for 3 hours, and she got back home and started working on her business stuff. It was like close to midnight. And when I was checking in with her this morning just to ask if I could share this story, she's like, actually, I didn't go to bed till 2:30 because I was doing my mileage for my taxes. So this is, it's like, oh my gosh, that's way too late. That's not enough sleep. Your brain is going all day long and not allowing to rest. We have to give ourselves permission to ask for help. And because if we don't, we're on the road to burnout. So when I'm saying is, help with at work can be a virtual assistant. I see, Rebecca, you're here. You're a solo. You've done really well. You have 2 little guys at home. You have a VA that helps you. And I know that has been instrumental in you allowing you to focus on more important things in your business, because your VA is doing the lower level tasks for you. So you get to have more time thinking at higher level tasks. So a VA, if you are a solo, is a fantastic option for you to take off social media off your plate, take your email marketing off your plate, so that you can focus on other stuff. Yeah, I know, the best thing ever. I know that when I hired my VA, it's just it's created a huge amount of space for me to be able to think in different areas of my business. And my business has grown exponentially since I've done that. At home, I've talked about, hire a house cleaner. House cleaner is like between 20 and $30 an hour. You generally make more than that in your spa per hour. So it just makes sense that you shouldn't actually be spending time cleaning floors and toilets. You can pay somebody else to do that. That's just thinking smarter and not having to work harder. If you have kids, I'm a big proponent of, we need to share the workload here. We're a family. And if you have kids that can take some of that workload, it can be like loading the dishwasher after dinner, just helping after dinner. If they're old enough to fold their own laundry, our kids all do their own laundry and fold their own laundry. Like, that is just not a task that I think I should be doing. So maybe there's some things going on at home that you can reevaluate as far as reassigning these tasks. When our kids were old enough, when my husband decided to go into, he went and got his master's, I was working full time. And I said to my husband, there's no way that I can, handle all of this on my own. And we put together a chore chart for our kids. And, every day they each took turns cleaning the kitchen or loading and unloading the dishwasher. They all went together and cleaned the kitchen after dinner. They each once a week had their chore to do, whether it was cleaning the floors, doing the bathroom, or dusting the living room. So, what I'm getting at is I want you to, I want you to let go of some of this responsibilities that you don't actually have to be responsible for. There's been an article floating around, I've shared it a couple of times, about the mental load that we carry as women. That, we work all day long and then we come home and we're primarily responsible for the mental load of our families. So that really adds to this decision fatigue. So I do urge you to look at ways you can get creative with your duties at home in order to be able to release yourself from that. If you're carpooling if you're shuffling kids back and forth to stuff, ask if there's another mom that you guys can carpool on. So you only have to do it 2 days a week. And you guys are all taking turns, and that frees up a little bit of time and mental bandwidth for yourself. And finally, my number 6 is to be gentle with yourself and not expect so much out of yourself. I know we have high expectations for ourselves as entrepreneurs. We've got big dreams, big visions. Well, we want to get there. But, sometimes we have to be, we just have to give ourselves some grace and say, you know what? I don't want to work this hard. I don't want to have this much load on my plate. It's too much. It's not how I want to live my life. And that's okay. So giving yourself permission to, for that to be okay is very, very powerful. It's okay to say no to friends, for social situations, family. I know family, it's really hard because there's a sense of duty that we have. My father-in-law is in a care home and has late stage Parkinson's. And it would be really easy for me to slip into feeling very, very responsible for him. But I also realized, which I did, I slipped into that last year, but I also realized how much of a mental load that put on me. And there were other people that were supporting him, and I didn't need to do that to that extent, because it was affecting how I was feeling which affected how I was operating in my business. So sometimes nobody else is going to give us permission. I'll give you permission, but sometimes we need to give ourselves permission, and that has to be a strong enough permission that we accept that. All right, so decision fatigue this might be a brand new concept for you. Maybe you've heard it before, but you never really thought it actually pertained to you. And I'm curious whether this has struck a chord with you. That are you indeed suffering from decision fatigue? Is that maybe why you're feeling the way you're feeling? Is that maybe why you're having a hard time making decisions and then feeling bad about yourself? So today's Facebook Live was about hitting the reset button about your decision fatigue and giving you some tools to be able to manage it so that it's not so taxing on you, so that you can make better decisions and feel lighter. That's what we want. We want to be in our business, operating our business, but not feeling so constricted and tight. Thanks for joining me for today's Facebook Live. Thanks, Rebecca, for chiming in there. And I know sometimes this can be a little bit vulnerable to talk about, to share with other entrepreneurs, but you know what? I guarantee you that there's probably more entrepreneurs dealing with decision fatigue than you actually think. So you're in good company. We all struggle with this, and it's just a matter of being aware, so that when we're aware, then we can make better decisions for ourselves. All right, thanks for joining me today on today's Facebook Live. I will be back here next Thursday at 12 noon Pacific and 3 p.m. Eastern. See you then.